Greetings, everyone. It's great to be with you again. Great to be learning with you. Thank you for everything you're doing in the way of growing in service. Today, we'll have a presentation entitled Back on Track on the Mystical Path 2, which will follow up in an earlier presentation of the same main title. However, this presentation will be self-contained, and you can also go back to the previous presentation on Rosicrucian TV, which will give you a resource for later on in the presentation. At this time, we often do a share an image with you. Great. You'll see before you now a wondrous work by Gustave Doré. It's an engraving of a storm battered by a lighthouse. And a lighthouse is a very beautiful symbol, as especially you have many associations with the lighthouse and visiting lighthouses and maybe some very memorable lighthouses you live near or have gone to on vacations or trips. You may even have the chance to ascend up into a lighthouse, particularly if it was on a historic tour or a museum associated with the lighthouse. You'll see here the waves, the choppiness, somewhat like our lives can be, but also great tumultuous clouds, but there's a building forth of the light. And at the very top, there's the light that's beaming out to seafarers like ourselves journeying through life to guide us around the shoals or to tell us where we are. Many people that came to North America over the past approximately 2 centuries, they would see as they left Europe, they would see the lighthouse at night, leaving their homeland, and then they have a sense of joy and the sense of courage coming up within them, and they'd see the lighthouse off the coast of Newfoundland or further south into New York State and so forth. And they'd see the lighthouse coming and going in their great journey from a new way of life. Similarly, on the mystical path, we have in a way the guidance of the divine within, which in a way is like that lighthouse to guide us. I'll show you a little bit more about lighthouses because we'll use this concept for our meditation. You'll see on the left here is a Fresnel lens. Various engineers and physicists designed an improved way that a single light at the top of a lighthouse could be projected out and its beam be concentrated. The Fresnel lens involves a series of prisms. It's named after the physicist and engineer Fresnel. It's in a way, it's a marriage of art and science and engineering. It's a very beautiful, wondrous work that almost looks like an abstract geometric work from a later period. These types of Fresnel lenses from the 19th century going into the 20th century, they operate, as you'll see from a earlier textbook here, that they would shine the light, say, from a kerosene lamp or various types of lamps, but they would have them all go out in this parallel in the same direction. And they would make the most of that light to go out many miles out into sea. And there were different sizes of the Fresnel lenses, the first, second, third order, and then that refined further depending on what the need of the site and the situation for the lighthouse. These Fresnel lenses was also commonly, they would be rotated around using a device similar that you'd find in a tall case clock or a grandfather's clock. So to give that effect that even though the kerosene lamp light or the light is not flashing, as these Fresnel lenses, series of concentric prisms rotated around, it would flash the light out, and different degrees or rates of flashing could convey different things. Maybe if you visited a lighthouse and climbed up to the top, you may see the Fresnel lens still in place, or maybe in a museum. They're quite intriguing. They show human ingenuity, and this idea of the light going forth. In a way, it's like the divine within that guides us on the mystical path. Also, we'll do a period of metaphysical aid healing. And you'll notice here, the light is being concentrated to go out in the one direction. And that has analogies and certain same laws and principles that are involved when Rosicrucians do metaphysical aid for one particular person. which we'll do today, but we'll also do as a general radiation after that, all people. And we'll apply some different laws of directing of vibration. But we'll apply a law similar to this to go to the one person to direct that light in a highly channeled way. To get prepared for our meditation period, I want to show you another image that I think you'll much enjoy. Here, it's somewhat contrasting, but in some ways in harmony with the Gustave Doré image of a lighthouse. We find the calming presence of the light before us from the top of the lighthouse. But also here, we have a very calming scene, particularly with applying the mystical psychic application of the color blue, but also the stillness, the great radiations of light that are coming from the lighthouse and seemingly beyond, in a way like the divine within is our interior sun, our living sun, that the august master Hildegard von Bingen spoke of during the Middle Ages. And in ancient times, the mystic Pharaoh Akhenaten also spoke of the living sun within us. Let us take in and let the light grow, this interior sun, the living sun, suggested by this beautiful computer-drawn artwork of a lighthouse for the land and water. And we'll use this as an opportunity to attune with the cosmic, apply the law of cosmic attunement. And when you're ready for our meditation period before the main body of our presentation, I invite you now to close your eyes. We've worked with our outer impressions to help inspire us and gather the inspiration of the artists that we can attune with, just like two tuning forks coming together. If they have the same pitch as one is sounded, so the other. Artwork can be that way for us too, as we apply and move towards the cosmic inspiration that manifested the artwork by the artist. Just enjoy the gentle rhythm of the breath, sensing the increase in presence of the divine light, the inner lighthouse within us, to know how to proceed on the mystical path, the path of increasing growing, direct experience, and maturity, and doing what's right, following our conscience. Sometimes in our life, we may feel that we've moved away from those things on an hourly basis, a daily basis, or even longer. But we always have the opportunity to get on back on track on the mystical path, back to be fully in ourselves, being who we've always been deep down. Just enjoy the gentle rhythms of the breath. Feel the relaxation of it. And I think you'll find that there's a certain enriching tingling starts to happen, often in the extremities of the body, the fingers, the toes particularly. It's an enriching tingling, very purifying tingling. It's the life force that's always there, but we can use these exercises of the Rosicrucians to intensify it, increase our sensitivity to it, and to apply it in various ways for our well-being and the well-being of others. And invite you now too to extend your exhalation longer than your inhalation. And that helps with the relaxation response automatically. The great vagus nerve will be stimulated. It works in conjunction with the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system, and the parasympathetic nervous system. Just enjoy that increased relaxation effect, that increased sense of calmness and tranquility. This is our birthright. This is part of the wisdom of the holy temple that is our body, and we know how to work with it. The weekly lessons of the Rosicrucians, referred to as the monographs, that are studied at least an hour each day, or each week, I should say, apply the lessons, cover all these things and much more in a very exciting, enriching way. You have a great sense of the adventure of life on the mystical path. Just continue to feel that increased sensitivity of the holy temple that we are in mind and body. The enriching and healing tingling. And with each inhalation, you may wish also to sense the increasing presence of what the Rosicrucians refer to as the master within, the inner self, the divine within, our true nature and guide in life. It behooves us to increasingly identify with, become more familiar with, work with at all times, transforming our lives for our own well-being and for all we come in contact with, and transform our environment and our contribution to our society and beyond. If you find your mind wandering, just lovingly and gently bring it back to the discipline of the breath. No need for any judgment or self-negativity. It's all part of the process of being on the mystical path. Each time we bring our attention back to the discipline of the breath, we're increasing what psychologists call our intentional control, which is akin to how we strengthen ourselves in physical exercise daily. So too, as we concentrate, bring our attention back, we're able to stay with the meditative process directly. And we have the benefit after the formal meditation period that we stay on our task more, less mind wandering. Any mind wandering you're experiencing now is just not caused by the meditation, but simply the way we are today. We're just taking more time to be sensitive and notice now. Just feel whatever there is to feel. Meditation is a profound act of non-avoidance. Now soon we'll continue our period of meditation by ascending to the heights of the celestial sanctum, following the instructions of the key meditation booklet, Liber 777, the Rosicrucians. We'll give you a reference to that later in the presentation. By concentrating on our breath, we've applied the law of purification, which will assist in our cosmic attunement and our ascent, our expanding of consciousness. But we'll also apply a prayer and invocation, which involves the law of purification, which I invite you to say with me now. May the divine essence of the cosmic infuse my being and cleanse me of all impurities of mind and body, that I may enter the celestial sanctum and attune in pureness and in worthiness. So mote it be. Now I invite you now to use all your psychic faculties and your imaginative capacity to picture yourself rising up from the room where you are, being in an office, building or dwelling, home. Picture yourself rising above that building or structure. See it below you and the surrounding neighborhood and the system and order, the landscape and the streets, and continue to rise up, enjoying the exhilaration of the ascent, going faster and faster. Use a great deal of inner spiritual force to do this. When we reach the heights of the celestial sanctum, we will surrender and be passive. Do not be passive at this stage. Keep using that great inner force. Give it everything you've got as you rise up higher and higher. And see below you now the city or the larger geographic area where you dwell. And now even the province or state. See the great weather systems and landforms, such as seas or lakes or deserts or hills, farmers' fields, and the weather systems. Just enjoy the exhilaration of the ascent as we rise up and see now the great nation or country where you dwell. And let's continue up higher and higher and see the continent where you dwell. And even now, spectacularly, the hemisphere. As we continue to rise faster and faster, way beyond the speed of light, we see the beautiful blue jewel that is the Earth, revolving about its axis, and the satellite, the moon, revolving about the Earth. And let us continue to rise up faster and faster. Seeing the other planets of our solar system, the huge planet of Jupiter, the wondrous rings of Saturn, smaller planets such as Mercury, Mars, and Venus, and the great fiery ball of the sun, our local star. And continue to rise up higher and higher, sensing the psychic impressions radiate from the planets and return in kind back to them. And enjoy the symbiotic and balanced relationship. As you look up from our solar system and its great expanse way beyond the planets, way beyond where the probes from Earth have gone. See comets and rogue planets and asteroids, interstellar gases, the pulsars, the quasars, the black holes even sensed behind the scenes balancing the universe. And let us continue to pass myriad stars and nebula, enjoying our ascent to the heights of the celestial sanctum, applying the law of correspondence, for as we rise higher and higher, we'll also go deeper and deeper within ourselves, the increasing presence of the divine within. Continuing this great journey, feeling the exhilaration of the ascent, knowing increasingly the great structure and harmony of the cosmos, but also experience firsthand what the Rosicrucians refer to as the cosmic. That is the universal intelligence back of the cosmos and all natural and spiritual laws. We come to know and realize and live out and apply on the mystical path and in this ascent. Continue to rise higher and higher and sense the great structure, the Milky Way galaxy and its spiraling arms, one which is our local home. And pass right out in the great arm where we dwell in the Milky Way galaxy and look back at its wondrous structure, also revolving about its center, where dwells a huge black hole, as astrophysicists and astronomers have been able to cleverly deduce, and continue to rise up higher and higher, seeing other planets and stars and asteroids and comets and nebula, and galaxies. Can just continue to rise up higher and higher and exit right out from our local cluster of galaxies and see now many, many other galaxies around and clusters of galaxies around us. Enjoy the beauty and wonder of it all. It's the full range of vibration, the ocean of vibrations that is the cosmos. And what the Rosicrucians refer to as the cosmic keyboard, from octave and octave, higher and higher rates of vibration, taken in by our physical senses, but also our psychic senses. Senses of pendulous harmony and order. the music of the cosmos, spoken of since ancient times. And let us actually write out from our local cluster of galaxies and see many, many clusters of galaxies, and even sense the presence of our local supercluster of galaxies. We go faster and faster, enjoying the wonder of the ascent, at the same time going deeper and deeper and sensing increasingly the divinity within us. And pass right out from our local supercluster of galaxies and see many, many superclusters of galaxies, having within them clusters of galaxies, myriad clusters of galaxies and stars. And let us journey faster and faster, sensing now even the great stupendous action of the cosmos. You may even sense now the cosmos revolving about a great cosmic axis spoken of since ancient times. And go faster and faster towards the midpoint of that cosmic axis. And sense this tremendous action, this great rotation of the cosmos, mirroring the rotation of our Earth, the revolution of the moon around the Earth, and the Earth revolving about the sun, and the stars of the Milky Way galaxy revolving about its center, the great and huge black hole. So too the great motion about the cosmic axis. And when you reach the midpoint of that cosmic axis, slow up and take in the wondrous of it all in awe. The tremendous system and order matches system and order within ourselves. The law of correspondence, the microcosm that we are, mirroring the macrocosm we increasingly identify with and realize that we are. And let us now dwell in mystical silence for a time and just surrender the divine within. And at this time, you may wish to follow the instructions of the booklet Liber 777 and visualize your personal sacred space, your celestial sanctum. Maybe an inspiring temple on earth, maybe a lighthouse. Maybe an inspiring place in nature. Just fill in the sights and sounds. Taste, the smell, the touch, all the senses and all the psychic senses. Maybe wish to picture incense rising on the law of transformation and transmutation, just as we rose up to the heights of the celestial sanctum and went deeper and deeper within ourselves in a mirrored action. The incense rises up, suggesting the raising of consciousness now. Maybe wish to picture inspiring stained glass windows or works of art and symbols, Rosicrucian laws and principles, mystical laws and principles that we're learning to master on the mystical path. You may wish to picture with you all those who are on this teleconference call and all seekers, the Grand Lodge officers of our order, and the Imperator who may be conducting a sacred convocation, the heights of the celestial sanctum. Feel the exhilaration of being at the center of your being, at the center of the cosmos. And when you're ready, release the visualization and continue to dwell in silence. Experience what Rosicrucians refer to as peace profound. the most profound form of peace. Now, for others and sorors and participants, we'll continue this period of meditation. I invite you to become continue as a part of the Silent Council in conjunction with the Council of Solace, the Grand Lodge of the Rosicrucian Order AMORC. In this participation, let us radiate love and well-being from the depths of our hearts and mind to all those who've petitioned the Council of Solace for healing and guidance. And let us radiate love and well-being to all those who've petitioned our affiliate bodies for guidance and healing. And let us radiate love and well-being to all those you know who are in need of guidance and healing. And let us radiate love and well-being to all sentient beings throughout the cosmos who are in need of guidance and healing. Just let the rays of love and well-being move out from you like a great searchlight in all directions. Or like a great flow of water from a fountain, filling the cosmos for all in need. At a certain point, I think you'll find the flow of love and well-being will continue without any conscious effort on your part. And the flow will even speed up and we'll know we're reaching those in need. When these things begin to happen, just surrender again. Let go. Let the divine within continue with this action of a spiritual nature. And enjoy the exhilaration and healing and tonic effect for yourself as well. For the law of karma, the law of service, and the law of cosmic attunement. Now let us continue this form of metaphysical aid. But on this occasion, I invite you to choose one person or one sentient being, creature, that you know is in need of healing and guidance. You may wish to visualize them before you. And like the Fresnel lens and all those prisms will apply certain mystical laws related to the law of refraction. To channel love and well-being to that one being. I invite you to picture them before you now and direct the love and well-being to them. You may wish to see them vitalized, healing, uplifted. Let us do this for a while now. I think now that you ascended to the heights of celestial sanctum and radiated to all in need, the concentration on one person will be particularly effective. Now soon, fratres and sorors will formally conclude this period of the work of the Silent Council, knowing that it will continue as a way of life, as part of our mission on the mystical path. But we'll continue our meditation a while longer. But to formally conclude, let us say together, here's period of metaphysical aid, saying, if it pleases the cosmic, it is done. So mote it be. Now let us dwell a while longer from the heights of the celestial sanctum. I invite you to let your mind merge with the cosmic mind. You may wish to visualize your mind moving outward bound, fill the cosmos, just like the rays of love and well-being did. The mind expand at this high point of consciousness, the celestial sanctum. Apply the law of assumption and law of cosmic attunement in a very special way. Experience now as the cosmic experiences. Be the cosmic. Assume the cosmic now. Now soon we'll begin our descent from the heights of the celestial sanctum. Enriched, ennobled, remade. And before we begin our descent, you may wish to apply the law of gratitude to express thanks to all those who've loved us well, all those who have sacrificed well on our behalf, all those who have taught us well. And we'll note through the invoking of the law of gratitude that automatically invokes the law of cosmic attunement. And let us begin, now fortified, begin our descent from the heights of the celestial sanctum. With a prayer on our lip for this opportunity to be of service and fulfill our birthright in cosmic attunement. Going faster than the speed of light, a tremendous speed, plus the superclusters of galaxies, with stupendous harmony and order all around us, the great music of the spheres, and see in the distance the great supercluster that is our local home, and plunge into it, the myriad clusters of galaxies. In the far distance, our local cluster of galaxies, and plunge into it and see the myriad galaxies, nebula, stellar phenomena. In the distance, the great beauty of our home, the Milky Way galaxy. So we enter into the great arm where we dwell, past the myriad stars, stellar phenomena. See in the distance, the great fiery ball of the sun, our local star, the wondrous elliptical orbits of the planets. We come close to the beautiful blue jewel of the earth. We come back to the hemisphere where we left off, the continent, our great nation, our country, our province or state, the geographic area or city or town we left off. Let us say together another prayer and invocation. May the God of my heart sanctify this attunement of self with the celestial sanctum. So mote it be. And let us continue to send in our neighborhood, our home, our office or building where we left off, the room where we're situated. And when you're ready, you may wish to open your eyes and stretch. Feel reintegrated, regenerated, more competent, more ready for whatever needs to be done this day and always. Fulfilling the law of service and our mission in life. Thank you. And we'll continue with our presentation. Back on track on the mystical path too. The AMORC book, The Sanctuary of Self, by Imperator Emeritus Ralph M has a section on the pitfalls of the mystical path. And we'll follow up on that discussion, delineation of the challenges of the spiritual nightly quest. Indeed, in a way, we've done that already with our meditation practice. We'll consider ways, when needed, to get unstuck and back on track in our lives for our full maturation on this greatest of all adventures. And in that way, I wanted to show you a work by the luminist artist of the 19th century, John Frederick Kensett, entitled Sunset on the Sea. He was active in the New England area of the United States. And it's a wondrous work because in a way, it shows how the sun and the effects of light on the water can act as a sign for us for our mission in life and what we truly need to do on the mystical path. You know, as we stand by a seashore, we'll see that light reflected on the water, especially as the sun gets lower. And that path of light is like the mystical path or our path of maturity and growth. And the sun is like the divine within us. And these are signs that help the outer mind understand these things and grasp them more fully, the deeper cosmic impressions from the cosmic keyboard. I'll leave this slide up for a while because it sort of helps us go through the deeper points I want to convey to you. And there's many things that could be said on this topic. I'll select some of them, just like I did in the previous presentation on this topic, now recorded on Rosicrucian TV. You know, throughout life, we can look at it through as a great process of learning. But there's a very complementary process with learning, and that is unlearning, which is equally important. Because often in learning, we have to let go of erroneous ideas that we held in the past. They may have served us in a certain way. We need to let go of them and replace them with new ideas. The Rosicrucians very strongly emphasize this through habits that are like laws in our subconscious. And we have to have a new habit and not keep going back to that habit. If it's not a healthy, harmonious one, we need to replace it with a new healthy habit. And our weekly lessons in our monographs of the Rosicrucians teach us how to do that. And part of this process and the mystical path is overcoming fear, superstition, and ignorance. You can view that process as central to being a Rosicrucian and maturing human being. Now, we may say to ourselves, well, in this era now, we view as modern in certain ways, isn't superstition something of the past? No, it's very active still. Because we must see that superstition simply means we've accepted a false explanation for some situation or phenomena. This is part of the tuning with the cosmic, getting clearer and clearer impressions that can guide our outer nature. Outer nature cannot guide us through life. That's a much bigger job than it can handle, but it can handle on the finite plane, working with the inner self that's on the infinite plane that has infinite resources. When it does that, the outer self will find it's enriched and noble and have a deep sense of rightness as it increasingly works with the inner self and increasingly identifies with it. And by the law of duality, we appear to have an inner self, but by the law of unity, ultimately we experience that we're one with the divine within and one with all in mystical union. Now, it's true that each of us in growing up and talking with others on the mystical path have a unique psychology, just like others that could be, in addition to the painter ourselves, looking out on this path of light, this building of light. So I think as you look at this work, just as we grow and learn in our own lives, the light builds and builds, and the work of art becomes even more powerful, just like life becomes even more powerful and meaningful. And each person standing on the shore would have the path of light coming to them, not to the others. And yet we know each one has their own unique path. But crucially, it's a universal pattern that the Rosicrucians explicate in their weekly lessons. And in this overcoming of fear, superstition, and ignorance, we need to ensure that we're not unduly bound by convention. Now, we may think, well, part and parcel of mysticism is to have that direct experience. We wouldn't become dogmatic. But we may find that inspiring teachers that have said certain things to us, we may find over time that there's some things that they taught us, yes, they were right and correct. But other times we find that due to advances in knowledge and history, or the study of history, or new evidence that's come forward in archaeology or in science, that we may need to change certain concepts that they taught us or ideas. And then we need to refine them, new knowledge and become available. Because ultimately, we are the ones that need to take charge of our lives. We're the ones that have to wade in to the pool to swim. We're the ones that have to pick up the musical instrument, the cello, like Dr. H. Spencer Lewis, past Imperator, would play. We're the ones that have to take responsibility. And letting go of dogmatism is part of that. We may have found at certain points in our life or memorable encounters with people or even family members or friends, a feeling of being disillusioned. Disillusion in itself is a good thing. It means we're no longer holding illusions, but it's just a stage. We've got to watch in ourselves that if we feel we're disillusioned, that we don't become disheartened and say, well, this is the way it is. No, that's just a stage. And it's a stage of immaturity compared to the maturity that we have to grow and increase in. In a way, we need to find that new way, that new stage. That yes, we move out of that stage of disillusionment into more clarity, more into the light like we're seeing before us now. The symbolism of the lotus and the rose, which are important to the Rosicrucian tradition, and many spiritual traditions are important here. Just as the symbolism of the lotus, I should say, rose up from muddy water, it is this beautiful, wondrous, multi-petal lotus flower. You think of the white flower. Just like that in our lives, if we've gone through wars, if we've been refugees, if we've had very challenging experiences in our lives, in our family, or in our job situation, we need to come out of those muddy waters, be enriched and ennobled, not embittered. When we've enriched and ennobled, we've learned the lesson correctly. Until we've experienced that, we've not got the proper lesson. We're still in that state of disillusionment that we're guiding our lives and reflecting on how we interact with others. This is a very tall order, but not when we work with the inner self. And it can take time because often we'll resist lessons in our life. Our lives are chock full of life lessons daily. We need to not avoid, not resist lessons. Part of the value of meditation is it's a profound act of non-avoidance I've mentioned. It'll help ensure that we're not resisting lessons. And we can apply the law of resistance to embrace those lessons. And that's the infinite resources and strength of the divine within, which is beyond any suffering, will help us do that. And then we'll come into the deepest way of understanding life and see how deeply meaningful life is. And the capacity to radiate love to others will be increased. Because, as the mystic Rumi said, to radiate love, to have that life loving nature, we need to unblock ourselves and let it flow. The rose is also an important symbol in this in the mystical path because the rose was that multi-petaled unfolding going on. And in our deepest experiences, we can often experience, to use a computer term, in real time, ourselves growing and maturing. Often we think of growing and maturing over days and weeks and months and years. Yes, it is, and even over lifetimes. But there's sometimes as that gradual buildup, we'll feel in our hearts a maturation taking place. A petal of the rose is coming forward. It's one of the many astonishing experiences on the mystical path that gives us that extra strength and energy to pass through all the things that we must and that we've been resisting and avoiding. Then truly we'll come into the lesson. And then it'll be even more reinforced when we apply that lesson in service. This is one of the most important lessons of the esoteric form of knighthood, which the Rosicrucian order is. We also have to be very important not to dwell in what psychologists call learned helplessness. In this matter, it's very helpful to know that psychology as an art and science has only been around in a formal way for a brief period of time. But mystics, in a way, in effect, have been psychologists when they guided and helped students and where they're keen observers of the microcosm and the macrocosm. We have to make sure that we haven't got our state in a learned helplessness and we're saying no when solutions are given to us through the divine within. We keep saying no or refusing or avoid. There always will be a pathway out, just like the Grand Master Imperator Dennis Quaid, I should say Grand Dennis Quaid mentioned on occasion. We're here, we've reached here, we've gone through the earlier challenges, we found a way through. We can always change our attitude the way things in. Indeed, fundamentally, the maturation process is about changing our attitude because it's not so much uh, um, what is happening, but what is our interpretation of what is happening. There we can always put an increased maturity, and the divine within is keen to increase our capacity to understand that. as a part of the what were signs of inspiring experiences like sunsets and others. We can use those inspiring scenes in nature as signs to deepen our understanding of the divine within and allow the outer self to more readily grasp things that are of a very deep nature beyond the physical, beyond space and time. I'll say a few more things before we conclude in our presentation now. We've mentioned on occasion about how letting go is a very important process in our life. And that doesn't mean avoiding, far from it. But often when we've studied and learned something, we've used our outer faculties, and we're still finding challenges to get that breakthrough, that understanding. We need to let go. Often a lot of things in our life that are overwhelming or stressful, if we'll temporarily let go of them, that'll allow the divine within, that more integrated state of being that we have to come forward and all our faculties to work together. And many times what will seem like a mountain will be, as the expression goes, a molehill, or it'll seem easier. We'll have more of a sense of enjoyment by embracing those lessons. One of the things that's very beautiful about meditation and entering that deeper state and that letting go process, it allows us to come back more competently. So all those faculties be improved. We know this by randomized controlled trials on mindfulness meditations practice. These are things that Rosicrucians have known for centuries. We just have to have the confidence to try, experience, and say, yes, this really works. I'm going to make this a way of life. It's striking about this is that we've got to be ready to learn from whoever, whenever. I remember, for example, one of my professors who was, one might say, well, didn't appear to be particularly inclined in spiritual matters and philosophy. But what was striking was his depth and understanding of statistics was so profound, how to model phenomena of the world, that when he spoke, one could say, is he talking statistics or is he talking mythical philosophy? He hadn't been trained in philosophy, the love of wisdom, but his knowledge was so deep from firsthand experience of modeling the world and his searching and his own understanding that he had come to many of the same ideas that I had learned from the Rosicrucian laws and principles. And I had the benefit of studying statistics with him to even more spiritualize the subject of my career. Now, we find too, with the traditional Rosicrucians, Sir Isaac Newton, who makes us understand how the Earth has elliptical orbit around the sun, and the other planets do as well, implying the calculus, that he was known as a natural philosopher in his time. And his in-depth knowledge of mathematics and physics was so great, but he used theory and practice married together through the law of balance. Where it behooves us to do that. Know the theory, but through the practice, be motivated by the practice of how we can learn and grow and be of service. And from that, he was able to give great gifts to humanity through mathematics and through physics. This is we're called to in our own way. And let us not downplay what we can do when we work with the divine within, not for the self-grandizement of the outer self. Keep in mind that some mysticism, the Rosicrucians' approach to mysticism, is intensely practical. It's about dealing with challenges in our daily life, in our environment, encounters with people, things we're doing on the job, things, our health, and so forth. Look, use our imagination, dive into the lessons and how to apply those here. It's true when we get very enthusiastic about our teachings and things, we want to share them. But we have to take care in how openly we speak. Sometimes we say a little, and that can really inspire a person. Say a bit more, and that can antagonize them. So we have to apply the law of patience in all these things in terms of how we apply service. And sometimes we speak not of them, but people often will recognize the effect. They'll see the effect, be surprised how that was done, or they'll feel the love and kindness that has been radiated to them, even though it's not been overt. We have to work with our own understanding and that of others. And in this matter, we have to take care. Um, just like past Grand Lodge officer Frederick Edward Lee talked about in his book, Practical Mysticism, I'll give you a reference to. You have to take care in giving advice. In general, it's a general rule, unless we have a special role in terms of a parent or a supervisor or a teacher, not to give advice unless it's asked for, or unless we're specifically guided. I know our example is the greatest way we can, in fact, indirectly give advice and be humbled by looking at others. They're giving us their advice by their example. But there are occasions, as Fred or Lee mentioned, that we could say to a person, if they share something with us, say, you know, if I was in that situation, I know what I do. And if they want to ask us, then we can relate. But our sympathetic understanding and our attention over time, in our example, will draw people back to us to tell us more. And often we'll find through that they're getting the lesson through various means, and we'll be patient in that way with them. Now, the last thing I wanted to mention to you on the mystical path and getting back on track is often psychic experiences are confused with mystical experiences. And I'll give you a reference to Ralph M. Lewis's book, Sanctuary of Self, where he has a section on distinguishing them. They're both important to have those experiences, and our lessons and our teachings help us learn how to have the psychic and mystical experiences. One thing I wanted to mention to you in particular is the mystical experience, a particular telltale sign of them. There's a tremendous sense of rightness, a sense of unity to them. Often we'll enter into those experiences by having first a psychic experience. So as we start to have psychic experiences and we're in good conscience having them, just let them unfold because often they're leading to an even deeper unitive experience of the mystical experience. We can hold ourselves back on the mystical path by starting to think, the psychic experience was just the beginning of it, start to analyze too early. If we can continue in good conscience, often those psychic experiences will go deeper. They're a prelude to the mystical experience of that entrained sense of love, all knowingness, and oneness. That's when we often need, in good conscience, to let go and let flow in life. At this time, I'll move to my conclusion, and I'll invite Karen to paste in the chat the resources for you. And also there'll be a PDF document that she will upload there that you can download it if you wish. This time I'll say a few concluding remarks. So we followed up on the AMORC book, The Sanctuary Self, in its section on the pitfalls of the mystical path. And we've had the good or even great fortune to pass through the portals of each degree and our stage of our Rosicrucian teaching. So we're invited to partake of them. And with those teachings comes a greater and greater responsibility. It increases, and it's at a higher and higher standard of living and conduct. With our increasing identification or surrender or being receptive to the divine within, to allow this process to take place for the well-being of all. This way we stay on track on the mystical path. And thank you very much for joining us as we continue to explore Rosicrucian laws and principles and their creative expression and application for the mastery of life, harmonious living, and service.